The battle between the Galactic Republic and Confederacy of Independent Systems was one that had been conducted by Chancellor Palpatine, otherwise known as the secret Sith Lord Darth Sidious, and both sides were at his mercy. In particular, the Separatist Council, headed by his apprentice Count Dooku, believed that Sidious would protect them from all of the rigours of the war, but they were gravely mistaken. Following the death of Count Dooku at the hands of Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker, the Separatist Council were now under the leadership of the commander of the Droid Army General Grievous, and the cyborg directed them to the lava planet of Mustafar, where they would remain for the last days of the war. The fall of Grievous created a chain of events that led to their demise, as Sidious's replacement apprentice Darth Vader was dispatched to destroy the Separatists after the execution of Order 66, in which most of the Jedi had been wiped out by their own clone troopers. The new Sith entered the war room in their mining complex, and the Council do not know what is happening, and one by one they began to fall, still having delusions of the peace granted by Sidious. But what if the Separatists had managed to evade the wrath of Vader, then eventually join the Rebel Alliance? Would the two sides be able to cooperate to defeat the new Empire? As you will see, the survival of the Separatists would have made for a different outcome. On the lava planet of Mustafar, the Separatist Council watched as the holographic figure of Lord Sidious faded into darkness. Immediately, uproar broke amongst the leaders, as it was obvious that he had sentenced them to death through Vader. Worried that they would endure the same fate as most of the Jedi Order, the group take the Master Control signal, then leave the room in the mining area as the starfighter of Vader landed on a nearby platform, and they begin their sprint to the old Black Sun fortress. To their relief, several ships still remained, and they vanished off of Mustafar to safety for the moment. As Vader leapt from his ship, he was keen to add more blood onto his blade, and he sprinted to the mining facility, but as he arrived, he was disgusted to find that it was empty. Activating the central holoprojector, Sidious was equally displeased at their escape and their continued control over the droid army, but they would soon be purged by his new empire. Without the time spent killing the Separatists, Vader left the planet before Padme had arrived, and the Senator of Naboo and the hidden Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi were horrified to find Anakin had departed, but from behind a cliff face, R2-D2 rose with his rocket boosters. Padme asks the droid for the location of Anakin, but R2 only knows that Anakin had left the planet. Obi-Wan quietly communicated with Bail Organa in one of the ship's hidden compartments, and the Senator instructed for a return to Coruscant as Yoda was battling Sidious. Suddenly, the door to his small hideaway slides open, and there stood a furious Padme. The Senator would have fired at Obi-Wan had it not been for Organa asking for her to go back to Coruscant and give birth in the safety of his cruiser. Padme hastily goes back to the controls of the ship, and Obi-Wan meditated for the journey, worried about Yoda. Just as they were about to arrive, the J-type Naboo starskiff received another transmission from Organa, redirecting them to his ship, as Yoda had failed to defeat Palpatine. Aboard the Alderaanian Senator's ship, Padme gave birth to Luke and Leia, and demanded that the Jedi refrain from trying to kill Anakin, and orders them to bring her to him. Yoda shook his head, as Anakin had fallen to the dark side, and from that there was no return, and the Jedi would not risk the lives of the powerful Force sensitives in Luke and Leia. Padme was forced to accept that all hope for the Galactic Republic had fallen, and she began to construct the foundations of a new rebel alliance, which she hoped would counter the Empire, after faking her death on her home planet of Naboo. In return, Luke and Leia are not split up as the Jedi had desired, but they use Organa's palace on Alderaan as their safe house to begin their training in the Jedi arts. Meanwhile, in the colonies region of the galaxy, the remainder of the Separatists descended on the planet of Cato Neimoidia, finding that the Republic was still battling the droid army. As the Separatists had been presumed to be missing, the puppet leader Viceroy Findos had been placed in charge, so the Neimoidia members go to collect a collection of valuables and artifacts, hoping they could use them as bargaining power in the Empire. But as soon as they tried to leave, they were hit by gunfire from a Republic gunship and tumbled into a canyon below. Those on Alderaan soon received word of the mysterious crash, and the Jedi wonder if Keldor Jedi Master Plo Koon was still alive, in spite of what they had felt in the Force. Although they had concerns over this being a trap for the survivors of Order 66, the Jedi felt that it was worth the risk, so Yoda travelled alone, not knowing he was in a race to capture the Separatists. That is it for part 1 of What If the Separatists Joined the Rebels. If you'd like to see a part 2 soon, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel to help us reach 15,000 subscribers, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.